Say good morning to our co-hosts on this beautiful Friday, August the 15th, the Admiral Bill Stubblefield, former Berkeley County Commission President.
Good morning, Rob. Happy Friday to you. Lovely day.
Thank you, Bill. Happy Friday right back to you. Also, the Badger.
You're very kind.
The Badger, Delegate Michael Hite. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Great to be here.
You know, this is a bit different off the air because not once did the Hite blood pressure get up to the point where he was all Badger because you weren't poking the bear this morning.
I didn't have a chance. He came in snarling, and I was being poked. So I kind of retreated, Rob. I know when to take on the Badger, and when those teeth are bared, I'm staying away.
You put the ship in reverse and
got
out of the rocks.
Get out of here.
He's waiting for another guest to get in between us.
As you know, we have our so-called political breakfast on Thursday morning, which is a lot of fun. Mike joined us yesterday, and Mike, you add a lot to the discussion. Everybody really appreciate your insight on different things.
Well,
and you're halfway reasonable.
Yeah. And
halfway.
even right sometimes, right?
Well, no, I'm not about to go that far. We're going to stop at reasonable.
It's not a real breakfast until Mike Carl's yelling. That's what I'm
And that happened yesterday.
Our guest in this segment is Senator Tom Willis, who joins us via telephone. Tom, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Rob, Mike, Bill, good morning, guys. Happy to be with you on this beautiful Friday morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tom.
Where do we find you this morning, sir? Are you local?
Yeah, I'm local. I just got back from, I've been traveling all over. We did our first ever family cruise, and we were out of country for over a week, and then I was in D.C. and then Chicago, so just been running around all over the place.
That's awesome, man. Now, I hate to ask this because you were just on the cruise, but since you're now off the cruise, this I guess would be worse to ask this before the cruise than after, but have you been on Netflix to see the documentary about the poop cruise? Have you seen that yet?
We did actually watch that before we went on the boat.
Oh, no!
And yeah, we were a little bit worried, but I tell you what we did is my son really enjoys Navy ships. It's one of his favorite things to watch on YouTube, so he's always watching ships, Navy ships or Navy battles. And so we purchased the behind-the-scenes tour where they take you down the main corridor, they call it I-95, and you get to go to the bridge, and you get to see engineering and the laundry and, how they process the poop, let's be honest, and how they process all the waste food. It was really cool.
Uh-huh.
But the ship we were on actually had safeguards. They had four engines, and they only run one. Normally when they're cruising. So they had safeguards to make sure the poop cruise would never repeat, at least on this one.
Where'd you go, Tom?
So we took a ship out of Baltimore. It's really convenient. It's just an hour and a half drive, and you can park right there and get on the boat. And I'm sure the Navy guys are going to kill me. I guess you call it a ship. But so we went. It was to Bermuda and then the Bahamas and then back.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I've gone over 50 years. I'd never been to the Caribbean before. All the countries I traveled to, dozens of countries in special forces and the military, and I'd never been to the Caribbean. And so it was fun. It was neat. We found my favorite beach in the entire world. There's this really neat beach in Bermuda called Horseshoe Bay, and I went snorkeling with my 20-year-old daughter, and we spent just hours, in and out of the rocks and the coral reefs. It was great. Really good vacation.
Where in the Bahamas did you go besides Bermuda, besides Nassau?
There was a Freeport. We stopped in Freeport, and then we did a little tour. This place called Paradise Cove, and it was pretty neat. I went snorkeling there with my daughter also, and so on the way out to the reef, we the water was only about 4 feet deep, and we saw a green sea turtle. It was just 3 feet underneath of us, and then on the way back in from the reef, we saw a different one. So that was really special.
Yeah, very cool. I've been to Freeport. Actually, my honeymoon went to Freeport.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, been a little while. So we got off, and I was in charge of scheduling the honeymoon, right? My wife's family did the whole wedding thing. So we get off the plane in the Bahamas, and we get a taxi. And I don't know what it's like today, but in those days, all the taxis were basically like Cadillacs, okay? Older, but Cadillacs, right? So we get in, and we don't know where we're going. Guy's driving around, and he eventually turns off the main road. We start going down this kind of woodsy road, and he stops, and there's this dilapidated shack. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I did this. I'm looking at my wife going, this wasn't the picture on the brochure. And the guy turns around and does a 3-point turn. And he goes, I'm sorry, I took a wrong turn. Like,
That saved your marriage right there. That turn.
Because I could see my wife turning at me from the side going, no one said a word. I didn't give away the hand just yet. So.
Yeah, she was probably checking her watch to see if she was still within the 24-hour annulment period.
Yes, I think she was checking her Rolodex in those days for the attorneys' names. Yeah. Tom, you have declared yourself a candidate for U.S. Senate, so you would have to challenge the incumbent, Shelley Moore Capito, for that seat once and if she officially declares. What brought you to that decision, sir?
Yeah, it's a good question, Robin, and I get it a lot. I just won the state Senate race, and I've completed 2 terms. Before I move on to the U.S. Senate, Lord willing, if it happens. And we had a lot of conversations amongst the conservative leadership down in the legislature, and there's a lot of folks that are discontent, not just legislators but also voters, with Shelley Moore Capito's voting record in the U.S. Senate. And a lot of people don't realize, just how liberal she's been over the years. She's been pretty good at flying under the radar, but she's actually quite a rhino. She's voted with Biden 56% of the time. She's rated, depending on the rating agency, as the number 1, 2, or 3 most liberal Republican U.S. senator that we have in the U.S. Senate. And FreedomWorks gave her an F grade on conservative voting, and Heritage Action gave her an F grade on conservative voting. And those are the same grades that Nancy Pelosi got from those organizations, just to give you a reference. But the main things that, a couple of the issues that really touched me off when I started researching it was, she voted in favor of red flag gun confiscation, against our West Virginia Second Amendment rights, U.S. Second Amendment rights. And I just don't think West Virginia voters are going to tolerate that. She's been on the record as being pro-choice most of her political career. Suddenly when Dobbs came out and she realized she was going to have to face the voters in West Virginia on this issue, she, suddenly became pro-life. And then most recently, she skipped the vote. There was a chance at the federal level to keep girls out of boys' sports via federal law, and she skipped the vote. And the bill failed because she wasn't there to represent West Virginia values. And I know for a fact West Virginians don't want girls in boys' sports. So for those reasons, her record, and then we were talking amongst the legislators down there. I mean, let's be honest, she's a titan. She comes from a entrenched oligarchic political family in West Virginia. They've got deep roots. Her dad, was governor. Obviously his term, ended in ignominy when he was arrested and had to go to jail for corruption. But she's got deep roots. And so then the question was, okay, if we want her gone, who's going to beat her? And, I think that there are very few people that could pose a realistic challenge to her. I think I'm one of them. I think I'm best qualified to beat her. And that was the conversation that we had. You guys know I've got 25 years military experience. She doesn't have any military experience. So you've got a veteran from special operations going in. To my knowledge, she doesn't have any business experience, and I've got, 7-figure business experience in West Virginia. And then, my conservative voting record is between 90% to 100%, depending on the rating agency. So, I think I've got the credibility and the background to take her on, to beat her, and to represent West Virginia the way West Virginia should be represented in the U.S. Senate, with a true conservative, with a proven conservative voting record, and someone who's got the background in the international affairs and languages and diplomacy and the military that's going to actually add value at the U.S. Capitol.
She appears to have the Donald Trump endorsement, does she not, Tom?
Yes, she does, Rob. I was not in the race. I had not indicated that I was going to run at that point when she was endorsed, and I don't know. I'm not privy to the conversations that happened there, but it seemed like to me, reading the tea leaves, that endorsement came out right around the same time as the Big Beautiful Bill. And so 2 things happened. Alaska and Hawaii got carve-outs for their states, because that was their negotiation in order for their senator support for the big, beautiful bill. What did West Virginia get? Well, West Virginia got Trump's endorsement for Shelley, and shortly thereafter, Trump announced that Shelley's son was going to be nominated for district attorney for the Southern District in West Virginia. So I think there was some horse trading that went on for her support for the big, beautiful bill. Again, it's speculation on my part, just to be clear. But I don't think she negotiated on behalf of West Virginia. I think she negotiated on behalf of herself, frankly.
Bill Stubblefield.
Yeah, good morning, Tom. There's
Morning.
2 or 3 fairly striking comments you just made. One that Senator Capito is among the 3 or 4 most liberal senators we have. I assume you're including both the Republicans and Democrats in that, are you?
No, I said I said amongst the Republican senators.
Oh, okay. That was my key. I did not hear that.
Yeah. No, I did say that. So she's based on the rating agency. CPAC rates them. FreedomWorks, Heritage Action. They've either got her as the 1, 2, or 3 most liberal Republican senator in the U.S. Senate.
Fair enough. So much is going to depend upon money. Do you have PACs supporting you at this point in time, Tom?
I do. I've had conversations with several around the country. They're not ready to make an announcement at this point, but you're absolutely right. It's gonna boil down to money. I think everything that I just told you guys about her record. I find that as I travel around the state, a lot of folks just aren't aware of that. And so you're absolutely right, Bill. It's gonna boil down to, like politics always does. It's a marketing machine. And so my primary challenge is going to be whether I can raise the funds. And shameless plug for your listeners, if they want to help support, you can go to TomWillis.com and help the cause. But I think that if I can raise the money to get the message out, then I'll win. And so that's the plan.
Probably a overly simplified question, or as Mike Hite would say, is a very soft question. But do you have the sense that talking to the Republican voters in the state that there is a great deal of dissatisfaction with Senator Capito?
I do. I think. Well, I find 2 things, Bill, and first of all, I'd have to thank Mike for softening you up before I got on the air. So thanks for that, Mike.
There were some body shots.
Yeah, he did a wonderful job today.
This is great. I'm coming in the 7th inning to close out the game here,
and I'm pretty blooded at this stage.
Well, gosh, now I forgot the question. Sorry, Bill. So you're saying are voters upset with her? Yes.
Yes.
So,
okay. Yeah.
I find basically 2 classes of voters. I think the folks that pay attention to politics, in general, are upset with her. 3 classes. There's one class that I think is just they've been loyal to the Moore family, since the 1980s, and they don't follow politics too much, but they like the family, and it's going to be hard to move them off the needle unless we really educate them on the issues. Then you've got your conservatives across the state that are really up in arms about the fact that she supported red flag gun confiscation, and then she's put money in for these surveillance cameras to go across the state. So if you're walking in public places, they can pick up your face and track your every move across the state. So there's a lot of folks that are really upset with her, and then there's probably a larger class of folks that are unhappy once you educate them on what she's been up to and her voting record, and then once they find out about it, they actually feel quite strongly, that we need to change in D.C. So there's a mix.
Mike Hite.
Good morning, Tom.
Morning.
I'm always intrigued about the campaign itself, and when things start, I usually give the edge to the incumbent, and I would in this case as well. She is entrenched, has a huge name in West Virginia, all things that you would have to overcome. However, you're not no stranger to taking down an incumbent that's entrenched in a position. So, I sort of like your chances here. I'm just curious as what your strategy is going to be throughout this campaign to point out her record and win over those people who have been loyal to the Moore family in West Virginia for years.
Well, I think, I appreciate that, Mike, and I think just the way the good Lord made me, I enjoy a really good challenge, and so I think honestly, I enjoy an impossible uphill climb a lot more than an easy race. Just because if it was easy, why do it? So we have not run a poll internally, but we have heard from a source that there was a poll ran at the national level, and I'm already polling within the margin of error against her. And that's not necessarily because everybody knows Tom Willis and loves Tom Willis all across the state. I think it's partly because she's got a lot of high negatives. And so I feel like we're already off to a great start. I really like my chances. Once we start barnstorming the state, which is starting here very shortly, and folks get a chance to meet me and then learn about her voting record, I think they're going to come across. We expect her at, she's got a huge head start on the fundraising side of things. So she's going to, blast the airwaves and, probably won't beat her on television buy ads necessarily. But when it comes to, working, just shaking people's hands and talking to them and being available for town halls and questions and that sort of thing, that's where I'm going to win.
And a follow up to the campaign thing, is this is not your first time running for this position. What did you learn in the first time around, that you're going to do differently?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my first campaign, I'll chalk it up to the masters in political science from the School of Broken Nose and Hard Knocks. There's a lot of business degrees in that same school. So, the deal, Mike. So there are people you can trust. There are people you can't trust. There are alliances you need to forge. There are vendors that are, legitimately working for the candidate's best interest. There are vendors that, just want to suck as much money out of the campaign as they possibly can. I think the biggest lesson I learned, though, was just how hard it is to run a statewide race. So last time I ran, I only really campaigned for 4 months, and I only had $200,000 back then. So 4 months and $200,000 to run a statewide race, and I still pulled 10%. I think the winner that year pulled 33%. So it was a respectable outcome, but the lessons learned from that race and the relationships built and the name recognition, I think, really helped me, in my last race for state senate. And so I can see, we felt like God called us to that in 2018, and we were obedient, and we did it. And it was painful at the time, but in retrospect, there's a reason the good book says his ways are higher than our ways. And so I can see the plan in retrospect, how it set me up to be where I am today.
And, running a campaign is no easy thing, especially if you're all in. So how do you do the job you've been elected to do right now as a state senator and campaign at the same time? I would imagine that's going to be a difficult juggle with the upcoming session for those 2 months.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult, and I'm it's not just that, Mike. I mean, I've got 2 young kids, the family. I mean, I never let the family slide. They stay first in my life, and after God, of course, and then I've got my business that's also doesn't stop as well, running the law firm and the real estate construction side of things, plus serving in the state senate and running constituent services and being educated on the bills. And then we've got a interims and special session coming up. So a lot of how I stay prepped up for serving my constituents well in the state Senate. It's just there's a lot of chat groups and ongoing conversations and phone calls about the issues that we're going to be facing, and obviously, we've got a big one coming up potentially with PEIA here shortly, and I met with some attorneys this week, and we were talking about the crisis that the judicial system is in West Virginia right now. Some of the bills that we passed last session for judicial pay raises and to raise the panel rate for defense attorneys. The governor vetoed those when it came across, and those I really am passionate about picking up again, because as an attorney, I can see from the inside, just how much some of these defense attorneys are struggling. There's kids, they're criminal defendants that need good representation. And our judges, I think we're ranked 53rd in the 53rd out of 55 states and territories for pay for our judges. And there's just no way we can attract the best people unless we're willing to pay them a competitive rate. So it's to answer your question. There's no easy way to do it. I told Sarah, we're just gonna have to look at this like another military deployment, and it's going to be a year where we're out of balance. But we can do it. We're going to push through it and get it done, and serve with excellence in every area.
Tom, we're about running out of time, but a quick question is the Republican Executive Committee has closed a primary this year. Do you see that will be an advantage to you or disadvantage, or how do you read it?
Yeah, I think I read it as an advantage for me. I think that with a closed primary, you're going to have your Republican-only voters. That's for the audience. A closed primary means that independents and non-affiliated and Democrats are not everybody can vote in the Republican primary anymore, only registered Republican voters. And so that will skew, the voting pool more towards the conservative end. And I think that obviously helps me because I'm the more conservative candidate than Shelley.
And Tom, to be clear, you will stay as a seated state senator while you campaign for the U.S. Senate seat, correct? Yep,
that's correct. So I'm still serving for all of our interims and special sessions. I'll be serving in the legislature for January, February for the next session, and as of right now, I'm still the vice chairman for the Judiciary Committee, and I haven't heard of any plans that's going to change. And so we're still going to be fighting these battles for West Virginia, and trying to work to improve our economy. Trying to, help our kids, trying to help our judicial system, the things I talked about. So all of that is still going on. Yep. So it's long days, hard days, but we're, as they say, we're LIVIN, living life.
Tom, thanks. Appreciate your time this morning.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks much. Have a great Friday.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Good to talk to you.
Senator Tom Willis, out of the 15th, candidate now for U.S. Senate as well. The seat's currently held by Senator Shelley Moore Capito.